Emmanuel Macron stormed into the French presidency in May with 66% of the vote. The whirlwind continued a month later when his new party, Republic on the March, swept up a supermajority in the National Assembly. France's once mighty Socialist Party emerged from the election bankrupt and in tatters. The center-right Republicans are leaderless, and Marine Le Pen's right-wing National Front is mostly an afterthought in Macron's France. But now, after 100 days in office, the magic of France's youngest leader since Napoleon Bonaparte is on the wane. Multiple polls show the 39-year-old Macron in free fall, his approval ratings over the past 3 weeks tumbling from 54% to 34%.
France is a difficult country to manage, even if the economic situation tends to be improving. Emmanuel Macron's government is going to have a hard time, which we've already started to see already in the polls.
Macron's ministers contradict him. The untested fresh faces in his parliamentary majority have made a mess of centuries of French political protocols. And officials in Brussels fret Macron's left-wing supporters will prevent him from reining in France's budget deficit. The military nurses a bitter grudge after Macron pushed his top general, Pierre de Villiers, out the door. The two squabbled over defense budget cuts at the same time Macron committed more military assets to fight against Daesh in the Middle East and Boko Haram in Africa. And then there's Brigitte-gate, Macron's attempt to funnel money from the depleted French treasury to create a formal role for his wife as the official First Lady of France. The political turbulence is palpable here inside the National Assembly. In a few weeks, Macron will fire the opening shot against some 300 years of French history and hopefully fulfill his election promise to junk the more than 3,000-page French labor code. Macron says the document, some of its rules stretching back to the time of Napoleon, is the wellspring of France's economic malaise. The French have a word to describe Macron's first 100 days in office: méfiance, a distrust for the powers that be. Can Macron regain the public confidence? What the young president does over the next few months will provide the answer. Craig Copetas, TRT World, Paris.
And Craig joins me now from Paris. Great to have you with us, Craig. When we look at stock prices in France, the CAC 40, in the weeks ahead of the election, they ran up almost 9%. But since his election, they've trailed right off. Are investors losing faith in Macronomics?
Macron fashioned himself as the French Messiah. He did it intentionally, consciously. France and the markets wanted to believe, and in many respects, they also needed to believe. The markets are now nervous because their faith is being tested. Simply put, Macron wants to throw out the nearly 4,000-page Code de Travail, the workers' manual, the rights of labor. This document is a holy text amongst the unions. And it's fashioned, it's over 300 years old, parts of it, and it's fashioned around an ideological battle between money-grubbing capitalists and exploited workers. So the markets are starting to get nervous because Macron has done very little to address actually how he's going to junk all of these codes which have been keeping France held back in the global scheme of things.
OK, so that's the investors and that's the markets. How have the labour unions themselves been responding?
Well, you know, the labor unions would like to go along with him, but there's been more and more bickering. And I'd like to give you a solid answer, Azar, but I can't. But we'll know the answer the second week in September when a number of street protests are scheduled here, organized by the left and the labor unions. And every attempt in French history, modern French history, to shut down the labor code or change the labor laws here has been stopped by actions in the streets. Will it happen again? Nobody knows.
Yeah, indeed. This is going to be something to watch. And what does Macron have to do to regain public support then?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. You know, never eat at a place called Mom's, never play cards with a man called Doc, and run like hell when a Rothschild banker says he's transparent. And Macron is a Rothschild banker. He has not been transparent. He has thrown the press out of the Élyseé Palace to put them in a little room across the street. He doesn't give interviews to the press. All of his video that comes out is created by Macron's own people. You can't answer questions. What you see on the TV or wherever is all from Macron's own YouTube or Facebook created accounts. And the French people are, the word on the street that he's acting as he's still a member of the Imperium. He's the young French king. He's being secret and imperial. Does that sound like an investment banker to you? What Macron has yet to discover is that running a campaign is a heck of a lot different from running a country, and he hasn't made that leap yet.
Interesting stuff. Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you so much.